Hello there, and welcome to the 7th of my series of videos, how to live better with lymphedema. My name is Matt Hazledine. I hope you're well. Today we're going to be focusing on the beginning of a series of 4, touching on self-management and the importance of us looking after each other and looking after ourselves. Anything I say during this video is clearly not medical advice. I am not a medical professional. I am merely a patient with lymphedema who's hopefully spreading some useful information and tips as to how I've managed my lymphedema for over 11 years now. And what I've experienced and what I've heard, certainly through many of our members at Lymphoedema United, is that it still remains a postcode lottery to find professional help to take care of our lymphedema. Lockdown hasn't helped, of course, with the closure of many lymphedema clinics and many therapists leaving the profession. And of course, it's a challenge to bring new therapists into this sector. So it's been quite a challenging time. And, you know, I've heard stories of patients being discharged for missing appointments or being non-compliant with the instructions that are given. And it's also very difficult to get enlisted with a clinic if you have lymphedema. If, for example, you're obese or deemed overweight in some cases. This is what I've been hearing. It's a very strange situation we find ourselves in, that we are seeking help, we need help, and you know, the barriers to entry are becoming higher. But as I said, there's a responsibility on our shoulders to look after ourselves and do what we can to control and, where possible, maintain the swelling of our affected limb or limbs. And there are certain methods that we can do to achieve that. It comes under the banner of self-management. It's broken down into 4 sections, and you may have heard it spoken about by the medical professionals as the 4 cornerstones of self-management. And they are compression, skincare, healthy lifestyle, and massage. So today we'll be touching on compression. These are all very broad subjects with lots to speak about, but I'm conscious of your time, but there is more information on the website and in my book if you wish to find out more. So compression. There's a need for us patients to wear compression, because if we don't, then the swelling could really get out of control. They're not the most comfortable garments in the world to wear. By my own admission, I've had some that have caused me excruciating pain over the years that I've taken off almost immediately, or certainly after a few hours, with abrasions and welts and rucking behind the knee. So I know they're not the most comfortable things to wear in the world, but they are a necessity. So what I'd like to do is mention the different varieties of compression, whether that's for arm, whether that's for leg or other parts of the body, and touch on my own journey with compression, which started when first diagnosed to a pair of off-the-shelf circular knit in class 1 or class 2, and being, you know, over 6'3", the off-the-shelf pair didn't really fit. They weren't strong enough to hold the swelling, and it wasn't long before they became unfit for purpose. I just remember them sliding down and having to hoik them up halfway through the morning, which is pretty embarrassing. But you know, it wasn't long before my therapist moved me from an off-the-shelf circular knit to a flat knit made to measure in a class 3 to begin with, which then moved to a class 4, and then moved to a class 4S in the lower leg, when they realized that I needed the strongest compression to keep my leg as under control as they could get. Now, the flat knit material is very dense, stiff material, and I look back now and laugh that the first few times I put these things on, you know, I'd be grazing my knuckles. They'd be very difficult to grip because the compression was so tight. And then it dawned on me, rubber gloves. Yeah, that's what you need. And of course, there was no looking back after that. Rubber gloves are so important. There are so many different varieties out there. Personally, I use the gardening gloves with the strong rubber grips around them. They're a couple of quid online, and they seem to do the job. And after a few months, they wear out and you replace them with another pair. But rather that than grazed, bleeding knuckles. So the class 4S that I find myself in now and have done for many years sometimes isn't quite enough. And, you know, we've experienced a heat wave, certainly in the last week or two in June, which has been very pleasant, but not great when you've got lymphedema, because the heat obviously doesn't help with the swelling. So there are occasions where I need to bring in the reinforcements, especially for my lower leg. So the therapist a couple of years ago suggested I use a lower leg class 2, which sits on top of my full leg class 4S. So essentially bottom leg is 6S and 4 at the top. And that does help. Be careful of pins and needles and tingling if these garments are too tight for you, because that's not doing your circulation any good whatsoever. But it worked for me. And at night time, I have to wear class 2 because after liposuction surgery a few years ago, the downside of having that surgery was that you have to wear compression 24/7, 365 days a year. The upside of the surgery was it reduced my leg reasonably well. The bulk reduced by about 4 to 6 litres in total, so it's quite an achievement. But as a result, I'm in these 24/7. So, you know, I do understand the discomfort that one goes through wearing these things. So why do we need compression? Well, I lent on the website for a good definition from Macmillan, who state that compression can help reduce and control lymphedema. And it does this by limiting the lymph fluid buildup and helping the fluid move to an area that is draining. Now, I remember years and years ago, probably back in 2012, Professor Mortimer saying to me, it's all very well you wearing compression, but you've got to move. You've got to get that leg pumping and to get the lymphatic fluid moving, because unlike the blood in our systems, which are being moved around our body by our heart pumping, if you're stagnant, if you're a bit like me sometimes and sitting at the desk too long and you're not moving, then the lymphatic fluid can pull and not drain to the nearest exits. So movement's key, and I know the BLS have done a massive campaign over the last couple of years about just gentle movement, frequent movement, whether that's wiggling your toes, squatting when you've got the kettle on, doing some arm movements, just to get that lymph pumping. So always remember that. That's a little side tip there. Whatever you're doing, just keep moving. Even if you're sitting in the armchair, rotate your ankles clockwise, counterclockwise, 5 to 10 times. Use the ad breaks if possible to remember to do your movement, which helps the compression do its job. The different materials, you know, ones that actually feel quite nice. Never thought you'd hear me say that. And then some of the material is quite stiff, quite coarse, quite abrasive. There are a variety of products, a variety of fabrics out there. And interestingly now, they're not just in beige and black. There are different colors coming to the market. I've seen lots of adverts on social media with greens and pinks and peaches and colours and patterns, and you know, you name it, they're coming out now. They kind of make it a bit more of a fashion garment than just the typical tan or black stocking or arm sleeve that you'd get. So check out those different products on the Meet the Supplier section of our website. Just have a browse through the gallery and the products, and you'll be amazed at what's out there. Going back to comfort, and I mentioned the challenges that I'd had with that. Talk to your therapist, talk to the nurse or the company that are making your garments, to see if there are ways in which you can make that more comfortable. A couple of examples I can give you: silk pockets that can go either behind the knee or at the elbow, or the inside of the elbow, I should say, which just protects the skin. It's a bit more comfortable on the skin than the fabric of the garment. I had to move to a functional knee zone because of pinching behind the knee, and you know, very, very painful, and potential abrasion, which could, you know, move into the direction of infection, cellulitis, which we all want to avoid. Open toe, closed toe, slanted thighs, you know, there's all these different options available. It's just for us to find out about them, and us to talk to our therapists about these options to see if we can improve the comfort for us, because we're wearing them, in my case, 24/7, hopefully, you know, in your case, just during the day, but we're wearing them for many, many hours. And the danger is, if it's uncomfortable, you take it off. If you take it off, you get in the habit of not wearing it, and that can then lead to additional swelling. And sometimes that swelling is very, very difficult to return and get back to where it was, which is why in my case, after trying many different things, I ended up with liposuction surgery. But enough about that. We weren't talking about liposuction, we're talking about compression. The other thing that helps me now and again as a top up, as a bit of a boost, is the Velcro wraps. These sit on top of the compression garments, or not. You can take the compression garment off and put a liner on, and then put the wraps on top of the liner. And because they're Velcro, with the straps, you can adjust them to suit you, to your comfort. And as you get the body pumping, it may well be that during the day you have to tighten the Velcro straps a little bit, or loosen them as you see fit. But again, I remember the prof saying to me, when you've got these wraps on, move. Let the muscles pump against the compression to get the lymph moving. And again, these wraps, many of them are on prescription. It's just a question of having them measured to ensure you get the right ones. But also, it's an option to buy them if you wanted to. And many of these wraps are on the website. And don't forget to use your discount code if you're a Lymph United member. If you're not a member, sign up free of charge, and you'll get an automated email with a discount code that you can use on purchasing these products. So we've covered wraps briefly. They're a great product. Always have that in your armory as and when you need it, whether that's for your arm or your leg. And they do it in panels, so you don't have to do the whole leg. They do foot, lower leg, upper leg. Same principle with the arm, with the hand, lower arm, upper arm, or full arm. And it doesn't stop there. I wear toe caps, which are a bit like gloves for your feet, which add a little bit more compression around my toes and the top of my foot. I know they do those in the gloves. I wear Ito shorts to ensure that the gap between the top of the stocking and my belt line is also compressed, so that it doesn't bulge where the lymph is trapped between those two sort of pinch points. So Ito shorts, and there are other varieties out there. And spaghetti foam, I've tried that before, rolls of spaghetti foam, and just to add that additional comfort and additional compression, which works well under wraps, I've heard recently. And there are a lot of new nighttime garments that are comfortable, are light, and less restricting than typical compression garments. Again, a number of these are on the website as well. So, as you know, these compression stockings and garments are usually prescribed. We get a pair, two items every 6 months before we get a new one. Now, I've just been told recently that my 6-monthly appointment will be moving to 8 months because of the backlog and demand. So theoretically, we're on the back foot with these garments because the best before date of them, or the effectiveness of them, is 6 months, so I've been told. So I'm thinking about maybe investing in a spare pair, so just to top up midway through the year, just to keep that extra compression. They're not cheap, but they're an investment for my health, and it's good to have a second pair, especially when going on holiday, because I don't know about you, but when I go away, I have to dig out all my old pairs from the last 3 years. So at least I've got something rather than having to wash them every day. And they're useful to go swimming in and, you know, do a bit of sunbathing or whatever. So at least there's some compression on. And if you're jumping in and out the pool, you don't want your brand new pair of compression garments to be under the heat of the sun, with the chemicals in the pool, and the fabric with the sun cream as well might deteriorate. So always keep your backup pairs. That's what I do with mine anyway. The situation with the slippage, as I mentioned earlier, so the first pair I had, I'd walk about 100 yards and it would be falling down my thigh. They do silicone pimples, silicone bands at the top of the garment to hold them up, and they're quite comfortable. They don't cause any rash for me. I know some people may have allergies to silicone, but again, these sort of pimpled protruding dots around the top of the garment, either on the arm or the leg, help keep it in place. So if you haven't tried that, do give them a try where you can. And that really, I suppose, is the summary of compression at the moment. There's loads of information out there on the website, in my book, and through other websites as well, like the LSN, the BLS, the ILF. Lots of information on the suppliers' websites as well, which you can link to from the Lymph United site if you want to find out more about their particular products. I hope that's been useful. If you have any questions at all, then please come back to me via email at hello@lymphunited.uk.com. That's hello@lymphunited.com. Did I say .uk.com? My apologies. It's lymphunited.com. Honestly, it's one of those days. The heat's getting to me. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope it's been useful. If you have any requests or suggestions, then please get in contact with me, and I'll be pleased to bolt those onto this series of videos. And watch out for the next video, which will be about skincare. All right, you take care. Thanks very much. Bye for now.